Hello, people of YouTube, cut the nuts and the rubs. I just got back a while ago from a doctor's appointment, and a package just showed up in the mail. So I figured I'd do an unboxing, unpackaging video. And what arrived in the mail is something that I ordered through Scamazon. Mind you, it's called Amazon.com. If you type in Scamazon.com, I will not be held responsible. I can't be held responsible. I don't know how that song goes. So what I like to do at times is go on Scamazon, Amazon.com, and type in fixed blade knife and sort it by newest arrivals and no other filters. Oh, and I'll just be scanning through, my little eyes will be scanning through, the ones that pop up, and, if one catches my eye, like the blade comes out of the screen, catches my, no, if one catches my eye, it's just a saying. I'll look at it and see how it's made and everything. And if it's your generic kind that, is common as dirt, it's like, I'm just like, well, I'll just keep looking. Sometimes I'll stumble on a gem. Sometimes I'll stumble on one that looks like a gem, and I'll order it and I'll get it and I'll open it and I'll find out that it's turd. Sometimes it'll look like a turd, or it'll look like a gem, or I won't know what to expect, and it'll show up and it'll actually be a gem of a knife. And then say weeks or a month down the road, they jack the price up 3 or 4 times as much as I paid for it, because what these places usually do that use the Amazon Marketplace is, if they have a new product they're selling, they'll set a minimum price they're willing to sell it at, just to see how it sells. And if they start noticing they're getting a lot of sales, and the customers are satisfied with it, they'll start jacking the price up, until people will buy less of them, then they'll lower it. It's kind of like they just go up and down until they get to one where they get, the maximum amount of buyers. And there is such a thing as people who buy things simply because they cost more. And that's something that also goes into some of these products that you get through Scamazon. They'll put a high price on it just so you believe it's worth more. But I landed on this knife. The sheath looks a little bit generic, but it looks completely functional, like I could carry it on my belt every day. The knife's pretty unique looking. Is there any guarantee that it's made well? No. But I'm gonna see, because I spent like 20-something bucks on it. It was a new listed item, and I'm guessing that since there were no feedback and no sales, they're just testing the waters to see if they sell or not. And their lowest willing to accept price, I forgot what I just said. Anyway, I'm going to be unboxing this. I can't remember half of what I did. I can't remember anything that I just said, other than I'm recording a video about a knife I got through Scamazon.com. No, Amazon.com. Don't type in Scamazon. I won't be held responsible. If I keep hitting re-record on this because I screw up every single video, I'm not going to get a video. Look, it's my petrified fish beluga flipper knife. Sometimes you just gotta wing it. So you always know you got something good when they put them in these miscellaneous boxes like this. They probably put like a carrot peeler on here, is what they wrote on here. Or carrot reviver or something. I got a billy club the other day, and it was called a massage stick. I don't know what kind of massage somebody gets from that, but I don't want one. So it says FBcrafts. All they need is an eye on there. 9-inch double-edged D eel blade in leather sheath. They sold it as having a J2 steel blade as if it was something to brag about. And I looked the crap up. I'm like, there's nothing special about this metal. They're just bragging that it's made of it. But I'm like, you know what? It's 20-something bucks. It's a newly listed item. Sometimes I've gotten them and they have been gems. Admittedly, I've gotten more knives that are turds than gems. But, you know, sometimes you get a gem. You know? So, let's see. Did I get a turd or did I get a gem? So, they have it stapled shut. So, my first thought is Pakistan for some reason. I have no other reason for thinking Pakistan other than seeing metal staples. I don't know why. Don't you just hate it when you say something simply because you want to say it and there's nothing attached to it and people add 1,000 different meanings to it? Look at that. I got this for 20-something bucks. Let's check it out. See if the image they took was very photogenic to make it look nicer, or it actually looks nice in person. And it's actually made nice, or it's made like a piece of crap. Now I hope I did not just nick it with this blade, because this is made of Bill Walters. Did I just scratch? No. Did I do that? Did I do that? Hold on a second. I gotta open this thing up. Hold on. I see a scratch and it's bothering me. Shake it up, baby. Shake it up, baby. Now. Twist and shout. Come on, come on, come on, come on now, baby. Now. Come on, baby. Twist and shout. I think I might have nicked it with my petrified fish beluga front flipper knife. So, let's... Oh, I think I scratched it. It looks purty. Oh, at least on first impressions it looks purty. Man. My first thought when I see this is it's an overglorified shiv. Now, I may or may not have put that scratch there, but I'm going to say that, you know, it was forged in a mountain by dwarves with magical powers. So that, look at this little thing. 20-something bucks. They bragged about it being made of J2 steel like it was some special thing. I suppose if you want to use it to fancy pants eat your food, it being made of a stainless steel is nice. What I like about it immediately is they don't have stupid branding on there. You know, nothing about it screams quality to me. Now what I am noticing is, okay, what I am noticing is the tang is about that wide. So the tang's about, the tang's actually thicker than half the width of the base of the blade. The tang is, which is pretty impressive. It's centered and it's more than half the width of this base. This blade is the size of the tang in the middle that goes through this guard. So it does have a tang that goes through the guard. You know, then they put this metal spacer here, and then You know, I don't know if they have a welded piece of metal threaded rod under here or if it's an actual tang. I'd be curious to see if it unscrews if it does have it. But this does look like a genuine leather sheath. You know, it's pretty dang generic, but it's okay. Let's see. All right, since I'm making the video, I want to do something. So, even though it's a very generic sheath, it does look like it's genuine leather. I like that they got the double stitching. They use that typical stuff they use on the inexpensive leather sheaths. It's like this really hard foam spacer. But I've had so many sheaths with these kind of spacers in between the leather so they could sell it cheaper. And I've never had one of them fail. So, yeah, it may not scream quality, but, you know, proof's in the pudding. I've yet to have one fail on me. You know, if that's the best way to make one cheap, yet still fully functional, hey, why not? You know, but, you know, it's got, you know, the typical inexpensive, like, foam spacer things rather than a piece of leather, which is okay. You know, so this, I really want to see if this has, they probably epoxied it. I really want to see if this has a welded on threaded rod or if it's an actual tang that goes down to a threaded rod. I want to see. So I'm trying to see if I can unscrew it, but it's probably epoxied on there. Well, even if it is a stick tang that's welded on, it sounds like they have an epoxy and they're very solid with the wooden spaced handle. So it's got this, you know, wood segments, then it's got like little brass plates, then some kind of red, probably some kind of polymer material, I don't know. But, you know, if I was going to say anything bad about this, I would have to discover what's bad about it to say anything bad about it. Now you'll see right there, now for 20-something bucks, you should expect that high a quality. That's super high quality. Look at that. Hey, better than I could do. No, I'm not going to give myself that much discredit. You know, if I put my mind to it and I was confident enough, I can make it. Okay, so let's see. Okay, this is going to sound ridiculous. I'm making the video. Let's check if this has a real knife balance. Well, he's probably watching this like, Jason's going to try to pull a fast one. He's going to claim it's a good knife. Hey, if it's balanced well, it's balanced well. It's balanced like crap. It's balanced like crap. So if it's got a combat knife balance, I don't like combat knives, but if it's got combat knife balance, still a cool little knife. Doesn't mean I'm ever going to use it for anything, but maybe eating food with it. Could be fancy pants. So first we're going to measure the rear grip position on this thing. Yes. I kid you not. So the rear grip position, so easiest way to do this is you go tip to the same distance, you know, from the balance point to the butt, then you double that over itself. It's that simple. So rear grip position, about right there. Put my hand right there. So, yeah, it's got a crappy knife balance. Surprise, surprise. Okay. Or it may have a combat knife balance. Let's see. So front hand position. The front hand position, you go here and here. take this, you divide this in half, roughly, since I'm using my fingers, and you shift it down halfway. Then you double that over itself. So that this is the front hand position. So front hand position is right here. So yeah, that's a pretty crappy knife balance. Now, yeah, I didn't put that scratch in there. That's too big for me to have done that. Now, let's check if it has a real knife balance, which I doubt it does. But if it does, let's see what kind. The way you check if it has a real knife balance is, I'll show you. So, butt into the balance point, you know, go here to here. It's a variation of measurements. Here to here, shift this down halfway. So, that's not a very big belly to a knife. That's the belly right there. Okay? Now, if this was balanced better and that would have met up right at the base of the blade, I'd say it has a combat knife balance. But as it stands, I say it doesn't have any knife balance. Like, don't get me wrong, very simple knives, like something like this, sometimes you just don't care if it's not balanced well. It's just because it looks kind of cool, you like it for whatever reason, you know, and it's just something you're comfortable carrying around, you know. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be balanced well, you know. It's just one you like to use, you know. Do I prefer a well-balanced knife? Oh, obviously, but you know, I tell you what, I put a little bit of oil on this wood, put a little bit of oil on this leather, you know. This would not be a bad looking knife, you know. The one concern I have is, can you use it as a real knife? Now, it may not be balanced with any real knife balance, but can you use it like a real knife? You sharpen a stick, you can cut stuff with it, so I'd have to say yeah. But I mean, will it be able to withstand, you know, what you would normally do with a knife? Let's do a simple test here. Okay, my desk is a mess. This camera is not as good as I thought it was. Yes, a Slim Jim, I know. I don't got things going for me when it comes to my health, and it's mostly not anyone to blame but myself. That was a birthday present, by the way. The Slim Jims. So, alright. It does not have a real knife balance, but can it be used like a knife without taking any damage, you know? Now, I would not call this abuse. I would not call that abuse. It's definitely not made for chopping stuff. But I would not call that abuse. I would not call this abuse. I would not call this abuse or this abuse. Now, if I took this and just slammed this hard down that I could, I would consider it abuse. You know? But one way to check, yes, my floor is filthy. One way to check how good the tang is, you know, is to take the edge and flip it over. Alright, let's see. Okay. Now what you're listening for to see if it's a piece of crap or not is rattling. Now this is being hard on it, what I'm doing right now. I'm not swinging it super hard, but for something like this is pretty hard on it. But in my opinion, if it's going to be used as a knife, you should at least be able to take that. Okay, so let's see. Guard's not loose. Is it shifting? Nope. So this is kind of hard on it. Okay, this is kind of hard on it. Okay, I want to show you something. When I hit this into it, I have it at like this angle. Now, if I were to do it like this, and that's just, that would be me trying to break the tip off. So I don't do that. You know, I go like this. Then I go like this. This. Now I'm being harder. So, now I'm being very hard on it. Okay. Do we have any rattle? Do we have any slack? No. No rattle. No slack. I would hope it wouldn't dull. Nope, it didn't dull. Hey. You know what? I don't know what kind of tang's under here. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably got a tang about down to here. And then it's got a slot in it, and then it's got a welded thread rod, and then this threads onto it. If I had to guess, that's what I'd say, because it's a $20-something knife. But, as you can see, you know, with probably a little bit harder use than somebody using something like this would put on this, it's holding up just fine. There's nothing moving, you know. I'm actually quite impressed. You know, is this made of steel or aluminum? I'm wondering. What is this made of? That's steel. If it was aluminum, you see gray on my hand. Yeah, it's not aluminum. It's steel. Huh. I don't know if they just used some above average epoxy or what. Let me see how straight the blade is. You know, it's handmade, so, you know, the uneven grinds on the blade, I really don't care. Because it's handmade. The blade looks like it's going one direction, more so than the other. So let's see if it bends easy. So, as an easy, I mean, I'm gonna put appropriate force. I'm not gonna try to break it. So. Okay, so. All right, so the blade is still going the same direction, which is a good thing. So, you probably can't tell from the camera. You might be able to. Let's see. See if you can tell from the camera. I can get straight in front of it. See if you can tell from the camera. Can't really tell from the camera. That's how insignificant it is. You can kind of tell there. It's a little bit exaggerated because of the way I'm holding it. But it's slightly, ever so slightly, one direction more than the other. But the good news is, you know, the way that it's slightly going, for all I know, the tang lines up straight with the blade, and it's just the handle's a little off. Yeah, so from what I see though, like when I put pressure on it, you know, more than you would normally put on it with a knife like this, you know, it stays the way that it's put. So I'll go with the way it looks like it's bending. It's not bent, it's just shaped that way. It's probably a warp from the process of making it that they didn't bother with taking out of it, because why would you? Like, you really think for 20 something bucks, and I'm sure they're getting paid way less than that to make this. You really think, you know, if they get a decent quench on this for how little they're being paid, that they're going to make sure it's pristine, like when it comes to how straight it is? Probably if it takes a good quench and temper, you know, they don't care if the blade's slightly off, as long as it's a knife, you know. Now, even though this does not have a real knife balance, you know, and yeah, it does not have a real knife balance. I am impressed. I will probably not be impressed if I get this off. Let's see. But it feels like they use some strong epoxy. Yeah, they used some kind of really strong epoxy. I don't know what they used. They used some strong epoxy. That must be threaded. But dang, they must have used some kind of strong epoxy. I mean, how dang solid it is. Like, look at this. Other side. Nothing's moving. You know what that rattling sound is? It's not the knife. You notice when I put my hand on it, you don't hear it anymore? I gotta tell you, you know, I am impressed by this. If I saw what was under the handle, I probably would not be. You know, so my final say on this. It's an overglorified shiv. But, you know, it is a little bit purty. It is kind of nice looking. You know, you could do worse for 20 something bucks if you want a fancy pants looking knife. You know, it ain't bad looking. If you don't care about the balance, it's still a knife. You know, it's not made for chopping anyway, so as long as you can cut stuff with it, I suppose that's all that matters. It looks like a very pointy, jabby thing. Yeah, a shiv. Yeah. So, terrible video. Terrible video. Mikey likes it. Okay, terrible video. Let's check this out. You know, I am impressed by this, though. You can do far worse. Far worse for the amount this costs. It's actually quite impressive, you know, that this thing can do anything knife related, you know. And you know, it's handmade, so yeah, the grinds aren't perfect. So what? The blade's a little bit warped, probably from the quenching and then they heat treated it. So what? It holds its shape. You know, it holds an edge as well as you should expect any cheap knife to hold an edge. You know, if it held it worse, and I'd say it's garbage, but it doesn't. It actually holds an edge, so it's a knife. It's a knife. You know, what can I say? I like it. You know, there's some people who would kill to get one of these. I paid for it.